Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us this lovely Wednesday where the warmth is actually reaching the earth, it seems. I'm assuming most of us are all from Michigan, so we're looking forward to this warmer weather. Want to thank you for being here. To start off, we'll just kind of introduce myself as we're going to be talking about Office 365. Might help to know a little bit about me. If you don't already know, my name is Aaron Finch. I'm the Senior Network Consultant here at TAZ Networks. I've been with Tavis since we were in the basement. That was in '06. He started the company a few years before that, but I had the privilege of being able to work with him all this time. It's really been a joy to do so, and I'm happy to be able to have grown and be here and be presenting things like this. Not only am I the senior network consultant, but one of my responsibilities is training. So things like this webinar will be things that I would do, training internally and for our clientele is something I actually have a passion for. Love learning for the sake of learning, but also allowing others to do a little bit more as they go through in their professional life as well. So it's truly a joy for me. Kind of the result of me being kind of a book nerd is I've been able to get quite a few certifications in different technologies, not just Microsoft but I branched out into Apple, and although some people look at that as the dark side of the of the world, not everybody's a Mac person. I happen to find pretty much all the platforms out there very, very useful. They all have their place. So it's been a joy for me to learn about those things as well. Here at TAZ Networks, I'm able to support many businesses and multiple networks, allowing me to touch lots of different types of technology. So it really gives us a chance, all of us here, to learn about a lot of things and be well versed in different things. As far as hobbies go, my big thing is music. If it's music related, I probably love it. And lately I've taken to restoring vintage guitars. The older the better, the more broken the better. So that's a little bit about me, but encourage everyone to ask questions in the comments and the messages field of the screen as you logged in. If you have anything, we'll take a break towards the end for some more Q&A, but please feel free to jump in. I know last week we had some issues with our audio, so I just want to take a moment now to make sure everyone can hear us. If everything seems to be okay or okay-ish, please give us a message in the box. Hopefully things are a little more clear this time. Moving along. So our goal today is to really talk about Office 365, clarify any miscommunications or misconceptions about what it is, as well as see how we can utilize the features it offers as they're growing constantly. I get an email every week with, here's the new features for Office 365, or here's the new ways that we can utilize Office 365. So we're, it's almost hard to keep up. So doing things like this really helps us keep sharp, and we're hoping we can pass that information and knowledge along to you. One other thing I want to mention is I have a little bit of a tickle in my throat, so I apologize if I sound a little funny. I may stop to take a drink of water periodically just to get rid of any lip smacks or anything like that might be going on, so I apologize for that in advance. So, and then once we've done a little bit of demonstration, then we'll both do Q&A, and we'll be providing some resources on how we can point you in the right direction to get some additional training and get additional, more comprehensive ideas answered. So first of all, let's kind of discuss the differences between Office 365 and Office 365. We all know and love the regular applications that we've been using for years and years now. Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Publisher. I know many have a love-hate relationship with Publisher. Just an example of things, but some of the more recent technologies, things like OneNote and the ability to share things like that has been added. But then there are the services. So if you have Office 365, you might be talking in your particular environment in your company about things like, I have Office 365, but it's a subscription to the software. So you get the newest version. You can install it on multiple computers. you can log in and use it in on your tablet or on your other mobile devices. That's the software still, but there's more to it than that. Some of you might have Office 365 where you actually have your email hosted online, and other such services like OneDrive or SharePoint Online, Skype for Business or Teams. And those are really the services, the online services we're going to kind of focus on today, because they can be kind of the hidden gem when it comes to Office and Office 365 and really getting the biggest bang out of what you're already paying for. So talking a little bit about Exchange. For years and years, we had everybody had their email in-house. And then we started talking about the cloud some years ago, and what's the cloud and where all these things are. Well, Office 365 services are in the cloud. They're hosted by Microsoft on their massive network of servers. To be completely honest, when it came out initially some years back, we were pretty trepidatious, and this is probably 10 years ago, the initial releases of it, but it has come leaps and bounds since then, to the point where we had to move ourselves to it because we felt like we were behind internally. It's so good, so reliable, so seldom do we have any kind of real technical issues with it. It just is a no-brainer to move to these online services, because not only does it have a significant boost in the reliability of our email or our file sharing, but also it's easier to use, it's more reliable, and you never have to worry about the expense of updating your servers in-house, because it's always current, it's always available. OneDrive has been a lifesaver in a lot of instances. They released it years and years ago as, SkyDrive. That was the initial release of it, and it was mostly for private use, but it was like Dropbox, similar to that. And it still is similar to that, except for with Office 365, you have much greater control and security, and it's integrated with all your existing Office 365 services. SharePoint's another one that's been around a long time. Collaborative, allowing you to have document libraries that control versioning, keep track of who's doing what, enable things like workflows so that you can keep track of both version but also approve final versions before they go public on your company's website. And we'll do a little bit of looking at some of those features as well. Excuse me. So, well, that's plenty of talking from me, just as far as just stuff. So we're going to move on, and I'm actually going to demonstrate some of these features and what you get with your Office 365 services subscriptions. And really the hidden gem is the Microsoft Office Online features. We have Word, the application, installed, Excel installed on our desktops, and we use those all the time. But if you didn't know it, there's actually an online version of it that allows you to log into a web browser and use it anywhere, on any device, with any kind of a network connection. Now obviously there's some caveats to the quality of work if you're on a slow internet connection, but the gist of the matter is you can get to pretty much any file, anywhere, anytime, if you need it, regardless of the device. So let's open up a web browser here, and we're going to log in, and I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. Any web browser will work. I happen to be fond of Chrome, so I'll be using that today. I already logged in, so it's just kicking me right in here. And we're going to jump to, this is the online version of Outlook. As you can see, it looks similar to regular Outlook. Inbox, folders, favorites, all that stuff still available. If you have a Hotmail account and you've seen the upgrade to that in the last few years, it pretty much looks exactly like that, except for you have way more tools and options to identify and use, including the calendar sharing. That's become so critical these days, as well as contacts and the integrations that those allow. So here's a list of our apps once we've logged into the Office 365 portal with our Office 365 account. Here's a list of the apps that you have available to you. And these, again, are going to run out of the browser, not the local application that's installed onto your computer. So that means if you had a Chromebook where you can barely install anything other than apps on a Chromebook. It's a lot like your Android related phones. You can only install stuff from the App Store. You would have the option to actually run any of these right out of a browser. How does it look? Is it as powerful? Well, there's some limitations to the features, but I think you'll notice as we open it up that it looks and feels a lot like Word. Same basic layout as the newer Word platforms. Same initial greeting screen where you've got options for things like your templates, your favorites, recent documents that you may have opened, and then the new blank document option. My favorite part, though, honestly speaking, is the fact that right over from here, you can open the documents from just about anywhere. You can use Dropbox if you want. You can click to add a place to log into different services. And when you go to save, you can save into and out of SharePoint as well. Let's start off with a new document just like we would normally. You'll notice now that it's opened Word up. It's got its own tab. Still very similar layout. Not everything that you see in your regular Word, but the features and everything are there that you're looking for most of the time. The ribbon looks the same. It behaves much the same way. And you'll notice right here, as you're typing, it's saving automatically. Which is slightly different than what you see in your Microsoft Word, where it has your autosave features. This is pretty much in real time. And one of the neat features that I won't be able to demonstrate today, but we may be able to do that for you if you have questions about it later on, is if you're working from OneDrive or if you're working from SharePoint, multiple people can log into the same document and be working on different sections of the document and adding text simultaneously, allowing for a greater collaborative experience. So let's say we want to create a new document, which we've just done. I just hit enter a couple of times. It's already saving my formatting for me. I'm going to want to save as and save. All right, here's the document name. It allows me to save locally if I want, or if I want to save somewhere else. I can choose my OneDrive. And it opens up lots of stuff in OneDrive. OneDrive and all of these online documents are going to integrate pretty seamlessly into the other applications, as we're going to see shortly. I'll go into Excel again quickly, and then we'll look at Teams as well as Skype for Business for chat and whatnot. So this right here, this is actually one of my Teams groups. I'm actually going to use this one. And I'm going to go into Documents and I'm going to save it here. And we'll see this again later on. So now I've saved it. It's going to be saving into my online templates. Now if I want to share it, I can just click Share right from here. It's going to take a moment to process. It's going to ask me how I want to share it. I can do sending a link, where I can manage access to specific users. I can put in an email address. I can add a message about it so that when they get the email saying that I've shared the document to them, I can give them a little note, or I can just take it easy, make a copy of the link, and go to whatever I want. Just copy it right here, goes to my clipboard, and then I could be able to paste that document into any browser or send it via an email in whatever platform I want, or even just make my own little repository somewhere of links to specific things. You've got a lot of options. Now, we were talking about before the collaborative thing. Now that I've shared it and shown it, it actually shows that I was the one that made this entry. So if I shared this with someone else, they were to log in and begin editing it, their name is going to show up right here saying that they're the one that made that change, which is pretty cool, especially if you're again working as a team trying to generate a document. Say you've got someone who needs to be proofreading, you can actually kind of do it at the same time. You've got someone who does your formatting, someone who makes it look a little sharper for the marketing side of things, and then you've got your technical writer. We're very fortunate that I spelled hello and everyone correctly in my typing. If anytime I write any kind of a document, I need help from Heather desperately to make sure that I've typed everything and it's been proofread. And that is something with the online features she's able to do in real time. Not that she deserves to have to do that all the time, but if we ever needed that, it's something we could do. And you can see now I've got the original open, so it's not going to have, and it also, since it's updated and been shared, it's showing the last thing that I added. Let me just go in here and type some more. All right, and it's saving. Saved. I can go over here and look in the document that this is the shared one. This is the link to the shared that via just the link. It's not actually necessarily logged in, even though it's in the same browser. This is the one that I was actually made changes on in this tab right here, which is the original document, and this is via the share link. And that's how collaborative it can be. Now you notice too, I shared it to a SharePoint page, which integrates into Teams, and we're going to look at that again too. Additionally, you've got many of the same styles options to find and replace. All of that is available to you. And this, right, this is super handy. We talked about before, this ribbon is great. It's got many of the features that you need. You've got a lot of the tabs, insert, page layout, review, all those customizations, but once in a while, there's just something that the online version doesn't do. And say you have the online version or the standard version installed on your desktop. I was working with a client the other day, and we were having terrible issues trying to get the formatting to work the way we wanted it to in the one version. We were able to click Edit in Word, and it asks, do you want to open it in Word? Click Open in Word, and it's actually going to launch the local application, which it's doing even though it says it's having an issue on another screen. There it is. And here it is on the actual locally installed copy of Office. Tells me the last time it was saved, the name. Again, since we're sharing it to SharePoint, where it's telling me a date and time. If I wanted to go, I can actually go to the revision history and see the last times it was saved. So if I want to go back to a previous version, there you go. That's the old version where a change had not been made. Has the date stamp on it and who was the one that saved the file. I can compare the two if I want. Again, we're working out of the online version of the document, but we're working on it in the locally installed copy of Word at this point. So you can see it's pretty powerful just in the versioning and the collaborative aspects alone. Alright, so let's close out of here. I don't want to save that. Close out of here too. Now if I was to want to save, it's going to save because I'm pointing to that online location that I'm working from. So I don't have to do anything special to save it to that location, even though I'm working on it locally from the software on my computer. Close that up. And closed up. And I'll close out my shared one. So let's go back to the list of apps we've got. Similarly, we can do a lot of this stuff, and I'm going to show you Excel and PowerPoint too. All the things we just did in Word are absolutely available as far as the collaboration and working together. Working in a notebook. And I'll show you two just so that you can see the difference between the ribbon up at the top for management. Plenty of ribbons, and the Forms feature is also available. Something to note too, that when you have an Office 365 subscription as opposed to purchasing the box copy of Office, you're always entitled, as long as you're paying for that subscription, you're always entitled to the newest version of Office. That doesn't mean you have to update it to the newest version of Office, but as you'll notice, and I'm going to click Edit in Excel, and then hopefully I can get it to come up here. Whereas in the past we had it set, I don't think you might not be able to see this quickly enough. All right, see how it says Office 365 here? It normally, in the past, it would always say the release year, like 2016 was the most recent release year, and 2013, 2010, 2007. Now you're always getting the most current version that's available from Microsoft. You can update that manually. You do have the options to run slightly older versions in the case of compatibility needs, so you do have that there too, as well as there's always support from us, and we have direct support from Microsoft. If you have specific compatibility needs, just let us know. Feel free to drop us a line for those kinds of questions, and we can help you with those things if there's something that you're concerned with for older documents and whatnot. All right, close out of here. All right. So let's go ahead and I'll give you a quick view of SharePoint, what the pages themselves look like. This is our home SharePoint site. It gives you options. You can have lots of different sites. So here we are looking across the side. These are the things I'm following. They've really made the online and even the offline versions, more so in the most recent releases, feel a lot more like social media than just the tools, just the applications. So you can actually follow things like your teams. When we look in Teams, you'll see that. There's room for different channels within those teams. Things as easy as creating your own personal goals page that you want to share with everyone. Also just the documents. So right now we're looking at the pretty much everything page. But let's go into the demo group, which is where I saved that document earlier. And there it is. That's our document. So now we have access to it directly from this page. If I want to open it, it opens up into the online version of Word just like it would if you had it locally, and it would launch your local copy of Word. You can make demos. There's drag and drop capabilities, so you can drag and drop a file off of your desktop right into here. Options for creating new folders, creating a new document right out of here instead of actually opening the document itself. It can work from here. The export to Excel feature is if you want to have basically a digest of everything that's showing up on this page. You can export to an Excel document so you can see a list of all of the documents that are on a certain page under a different specific team with modified dates and modified bys, and there's options for additional sorting as well in here. So you can see it's not the Office or SharePoint of even honestly a year ago. There's way more available to you as far as management, versioning, and all of those kinds of features, including things like one of my favorite options, which is Flow. Flow is, and I won't get into the demo because it changed a lot and now probably looks slightly foolish fumbling through it, but the idea of Flow is workflows. So if a specific team member is responsible for creating a new document, they can go in, they can create the new document, but say it needs to go through a certain vetting process. Say it's a HIPAA related policy. You've got one of your employees who's going to write the policy, but before that policy can go into place and be made official and then show up to all your employees as how the company works, you need the attorney to look at it, or your HIPAA compliance officer. Well, you can create a workflow so that that person can write their document, submit it to that person. That person's going to get an email saying that, hey, this is ready for review. They're going to then be required to review it, and if they have to send it back for editing, they can do that, or they can approve and publish it, and at that time it will show up on any given page that it's being assigned to. This allows a lot more automation to your processes internally. So instead of having to say, hey, I wrote the document, I saved it in this on the S drive under this folder, when you get a second, can you take a look at it? Don't have to do that anymore. Now you can send directly out of SharePoint, and once it's done, the submission process becomes automated. So it's not an additional set of communications, although that doesn't mean you shouldn't communicate, but you don't necessarily have to. And the larger the organization, the more important that forcing the processes to be followed becomes. If something's changed while I was logged into here, and I want to actually have a local copy of it to my machine, I have the option to do that for certain things. Keep in mind too that just like any file and folder system, like you're seeing right now on your mapped drives, for example, in your office, if you're not using the online features like this, you've got your map drives and then you've got your folders, and different people are permitted different rights to those folders, and you don't want just everyone to be able to access anything or edit it. All of that is still manageable in SharePoint just like anything else, and it uses your existing usernames, computer and passwords system, so it's all integrated and it all can be managed in the same way without having to put in a huge amount of system change. It still works in the ideals behind the way it's always worked, so that kind of rights management and everything can be managed in the way that you're used to. Obviously, I could go on and on with things like SharePoint and the other Office 365 applications. So I want to keep moving a little bit here because there's two programs that I'm really excited to share with you. The first one that's been very popular and we've had a lot of questions about is Skype for Business. Give me a moment. I'm going to launch the locally installed version of Skype for Business on my computer here. Skype's been around for a long time. It's that chat program that honestly you love or hate. It can the personal version can be a little bit of a distraction, and many businesses are still using it for their business purposes. You know, everyone has their personal Skype account. They log into that using maybe, or they create a new one with their email address from work. They're using that, but it integrates and it can work with all of the regular Skype too. So it can become problematic for time wasters and things like that. Whereas with the version for Skype for Business, you can really control it. People get their access just like you can see. It looks just like Skype does, only a little bit more clean cut, no ads, no extra stuff, but you still have many of the same critical features. You've got the ability to chat directly. You can create groups to manage who's going to be here in the group if you want to do multiple people in the same chat window. All those features are still there. You can manage by relationships and teams and groups. You've also got the options to track older conversations, just like your original Skype works. The big difference here is that your administrator, so for your security purposes, you're able to make those safety settings as an administrator, and those are the kinds of things that we can help with, or if you have an assigned compliance officer, those people can make the necessary settings to be able to control how it's used, control whether it's used for only specific people. All of that can be managed in this way. Excuse me. So right now, as you can see, the only people we're communicating with our team. I can send a message to just about anyone. Hey, Heather. Hopefully she's in there paying attention. There she is. She's typing me a message now. Nice and quick. And she's responding to my snarky comment about her paying attention. And this is very handy for other things too, because it works like your regular Skype or your FaceTime. You have that option as well. So if you want to do the call options, you've got the options to make video calls and voice calls. There is a recent addition, and it's growing all the time, to use Skype for Business as your phone system. Not something that has become terribly popular yet because it's still in its development phase, but that's something you might keep in mind for the future if you're heavy Skype users, international, or even if you just need something for internal calling that does that kind of feature too and can be used as a PBX. Still in its development options, lots of things that are going to be added to that over the time, but those are the types of features that it's got. Now, as much as I love Skype for Business, well, let me digress just a moment and mention that Skype for Business runs directly out of Office here as well. So if I was getting messages and I didn't have it turned off, I could be getting pop-up message here in my alerts for Skype for Business as well. But going back to what I was just started talking about, Teams. Teams is the Skype kind of on overdrive. And there's both the online version of this as well as the locally installed version. It runs like a web app, so it's a very immersive experience, and it's truly identical as far as the features and functions go in this particular instance, between the online version and the desktop app. Also mentioning, all of these are available to be downloaded, all these applications. You can use them from the web browser, but there are often also iOS and Android versions. So when I'm out of the office, I can use my Teams on my phone. Treat it like if I want to make a conference call with the team, I can do that with Teams or Skype for Business right off of my mobile device. It's very handy. Let's see here. Alright, so here's the demo team that we created for this. Oops. What did I do? For our demo. You can kind of see we've had some fun with it. Brick's Cantina. That's a awful inside joke that having to do with a movie that we quote constantly in the office. But there's, again, that kind of comes back to how much freedom you want to give. You can lock these kinds of things down so that they're only set to be very specific, but you can have fun with it too. And there'll be more demonstration on the fun aspect of that shortly. So here's the demo team. Go into that. Talk about files, documents that we were working on earlier, a wiki option, additional features and tabs. Now this is pretty cool, and one of my favorite things is they're actually adding apps for this app. So there's the SharePoint document integration feature. You can run Excel right out of here if you want. My personal favorite is OneNote. I use OneNote all the time for my keeping just, instead of using a written notepad at my desk, I try and use this more than that when I can. And it actually will run your OneNote right inside here. So any documents and everything that I want will show up here, and of course it's all saved online to my OneDrive for Business, and it goes back. We have our internal meetings. We can make a workbook in OneNote for that as well, so that and we can all be writing it at the same time. So anytime we have a weekly meeting, we can all be in the same notebook on the same page, writing our same notes that everybody gets to see, and then when we talk about it later on, we can show it up in the conversations aspect. The conversation here is like an infinite history practically. So as you have your conversation here, when you close it, it doesn't go away. You can see that this was when we were testing the other day. Send her a test today. You can change, it is stuck to purple still. That's one thing I've noticed. They haven't offered the too many more themes. So purple, you are stuck with purple. The other thing though that I enjoy thoroughly, both the files and the wiki, is this meetings tab. This is great because I can schedule the meetings instead of having to go into my calendar and then open up the instance, open it up and look at my the itinerary that's been put into it. It shows it to me all right here just by switching to what's going on today. You can browse through the different dates, switch to an agenda view, all these things, and all of it again goes right back to your Office Online features and storage. Whichever of these things you have configured and you're using, you then have access to them across the different online apps. Just real quickly, I'm going to show you the desktop edition of OneNote here. As you can see, it's very similar, although clearly you can size it a little bit more. And it keeps, it's up to date. So this is the same chat window that I'm using in the online version over here. It's the same thing I'm looking at on the locally installed copy. If I could screen share my iPhone, I would do that for you, but again, it looks almost identical. The features are all the same, and of course you do have options for using things like your web camera to make calls, or an impromptu meeting where I can click this right now. We can start having a conversation. And of course, here comes the fun. GIFs. This is probably something that we're having to be careful of here in the office since we started using this, because you can search for just about any GIF and start using it. You can turn these things on and off if you have to as far as administration goes, so if it becomes a problem. I've done some searching in here just to be sure, and everything is PG. There's nothing crazy in here that I had to be concerned of when I was doing this demo. So it's for the most part safe for work, but if you find that there's something you need to concern with, a lot of it can be locked down. And I can see David commenting on my Founders plug. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, right there, that's me. Thanks, David. Well, that's the gist of the demonstration that I had planned for us today. Let's open it up for some questions and answers. Just kind of whet your appetite for what's possible. There's way more than this is possible, but so let's see if you have any questions that maybe I can answer for you now with regard to what's possible and a quick how-tos maybe. Heather? Any questions in the queue that need answering right now? Okay, what do we got? Okay. You have the option to pick where it would go, but if you're working out of an existing document, it's going to be wherever it was initially saved. So if it's an existing document, if it was saved in SharePoint, that's where it's going to default. If you're creating a new document, you'll get to pick where to save that right away. So it can be OneDrive for Business, or it could be SharePoint. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yep. While it's in a collaborative state, it'll do that. It has to do with the versioning too. So if you actually go in, you can right click and click publish as major version, for example, then it clears all that off too. Always. Or you can create entirely new documents or notebooks. Mine that was going in there was basically just the demo one that I'd pre-created. But yeah, you've got full. I mean, you can basically treat it like a brand new workbook. You can create a new one right in there if you want to, because it actually launches the OneNote app inside the Teams app. Yeah, you can hide just about anything you want in those. So if it's something you don't want to hear, but when it's the private chat history, and that's handy. Or if there's some reason to remove a post, or a moderator finds something has information that's maybe sensitive and shouldn't be shared with that particular group, you can edit those. Absolutely. But when it comes to like the private chats, that's one of the features that we most like. But yes, you can still edit old comments and hide them pretty much any time. You wouldn't delete them, you'd be hiding them. Okay. Well, great. Are there any more? Anything new anyone would like to throw out at us? Okay. Sure. So let's get into a little bit of options for more training. There are quick start guides available from Microsoft, and if you want any of those, we can send those to you. But there are downloadable PDFs or Sway or Excel doc, Word docs available with just easy things about the hotkeys for any of these, both the offline and online versions. That's always available as far as learning more about how to maximize what you're already using. Also, there are quick videos available from Microsoft Office that you can use to get the gist of how something works. And then there are even more in-depth ones that you can go through. These are formal trainings, and of course they're going to be static and they don't always get into the nitty-gritty. So if you're looking for general ideas, these training videos are great to get you started and give you ideas about what you might want to do. But we are also having our own offer right now, so we can help you out if need be. Right now, you can get a 4-hour training session from us on the topic of choice for the price of a 3-hour session. So if you have any questions about that, or you need some help, or even just consulting calls, please feel free to contact your account manager or Heather to start the process for learning more about what you might need for your business to either improve what you're already using or branch out into new and other features, because we certainly only scratch the surface. There's lots of different abilities and features, and we're happy to help you in any way that we can. So keep an eye out. We're going to be doing another webinar of these, hopefully continuing the series. As of right now, we've got another one scheduled for May 23rd, so look for your invitation for that soon. Heather, is there anything else we should take a look at before we sign off? Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll be sending the training guides out. Yep. Well, thank you again, everyone, for being here. We certainly appreciate you taking the time to be with us. And you guys have a great day. Thanks very much.